The college basketball experience, DePaul Blue Demons 2022-23 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, presented by WinBet. Bet $100 at WinBet, you get $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WinBet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today.
This is Martin Cleese, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college basketball experience. DePaul Blue Demons 2022-23 season preview. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink, and I don't have stress, and I'm healthy.
Season's right around the corner. What's better than Big East basketball, folks? Remember to subscribe on YouTube to the College Basketball Experience. Subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Remember, check out the college football experience too. What's up, DePaul? Let's get the football team going. Let's go, baby. I'm excited to talk Blue Demon basketball, and I love the Big East Conference. Growing up as a kid in the Washington D.C. area, that was always awesome to watch. We had the ACC and the Big East, and at that time in the 80s and 90s, it was like the best conference. Both of them. I still think both are right there, but I mean, DePaul was a proud program. They were a proud program, even though they weren't always in the Big East. They were in the shit. I think I remember them being independent when I first started watching the Blue Demon basketball. But this is a team with a rich history. They really have a rich history. Where's the Dundee music here? Let's go. Let's get something going.
Spinal.
Where are we at here? I can't even find the Dundee music anymore. Anyway, I want to key in on. There we go. This is the DePaul Blue Demons. Yes, it's been tough. All right, Dave Lato, it didn't work out. Oliver Purnell, it didn't work out. Jerry Wainwright, didn't work out. Dave Lato the first time, only one time to the NCAA tournament. Pat Kennedy, only one time to the NCAA tournament, and that's all in this century. You got to go back. Joey Meyer, back in 90 and 91, got them to the NCAA tournament. But I mean, Joey Meyer in the 80s had this thing going. Ray Meyer had this thing going back to the days of Terry Cummings. So what can they do to get back? I mean, at one point, I want to say from 75 to 92, they only had 3 years where they did not make the NCAA tournament. Can they get back to those days? It's tough climbing up in the Big East. Obviously, it's a little different when you're independent, or they were in the CUSA some of those years, but now you're in the Big East. Tony Stubblefield comes in, former, Oregon assistant. I thought he had a decent first year, 15 and 16 in year one. But at the same time, you say, well, what's it going to take to get, to having a decent record at DePaul? Like, I mean, last year there was some opportunity. If you see what Shaka Smart did in year one, you're saying, hey, why couldn't that be us? Why couldn't that be us? So I think they got a decent head coach though. I think you got to give him some time. And they were competitive in a lot of games last year. Didn't always win them, but competitive. I think that's the first sign in taking the step forward. We saw it with Steve Forbes at Wake Forest a couple of years ago. Competitive and then a winning season. Boom. Maybe this is the year for Tony Stubblefield. I'm excited to talk Stubblefield, and as he enters year 2 in Chicago there. And that's another thing. It's tough. You're in a town where the Chicago Loyola Ramblers have kind of ran away with that town. But we know this is Chicago. There is room for more than one good college basketball team. So let's take a look at the Blue Demons, because you look back from a season ago, and obviously they have a lot of changes. We'll get to those changes, but it's tough when you go through and you're saying, okay, well, what was this team great at? What were they terrible at? From the start, this team was not a very good shooting team. 224th in the nation at field goal percentage, 277th in 3-point percentage. That's terrible. Even the free throw line, which they ended up getting to the free throw line a decent amount. However, 264th in shooting free throws. That is a problem. That is a huge problem. Everywhere you look now, they were 21st in the nation in block shots. You like to see that. But overall, this was a team, 73rd in defensive rebounding. Okay. There's certain little things you can highlight and say, hey, they showed some signs of life. They really did too. There's plenty of games you could point out from last year and said, hey, this team played pretty good this game, showed some flashes. Unfortunately though, if you look at this team and you look at, they were kind of a senior ridden team a year ago. They lost some key players, starting with Javon Freeman-Liberty at 21.7 points per game, let alone the 7.3 boards. He could also pass the ball well. He did kind of everything that this team needed. Javon Freeman-Liberty was a stud for them. Losing him is key. Losing David Jones, 14.5 points per game, 7.4 rebounds. That hurts. Oh, no, that's not done. We're not done. They lost Brandon Johnson, 10.5 points per game, 6.8 rebounds. And they lost Courvoisier McCauley on the bench, 5.7 points per game, 2.4 rebounds. But those are together, if you were to add them up, you would come up with, I believe that would be, I think, just shy of 52 points a game, 53 points a game. If my math is quickly correct, I did this on the fly. 22. So basically 22 plus 14 is 36, 36 plus 10, 46, 47. So I'm getting about 53 points per game. That's a lot to lose. We go team by team here on the college basketball experience. I don't know how many teams you have out there that lose 53 points per game, and then let alone the rebounding factors. It's going to be interesting to see how they can, deal with that. I know he brought a spark to this team, and I know he was active in the portal. I should highlight the additions, but before I do that, I just want to get us paid. I want to tell you that the college basketball experience DePaul Blue Demons 2022-23 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WinBet. Bet $100 at WinBet and get $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WinBet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. And we're back talking Blue Demon basketball. I think one of the questions to ask, and I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just talk about. So DePaul returns these players, Javon Johnson, and I will say this: they do return some experienced players. I know they lost that many points, but Javon Johnson, a super senior there, coming back 7 points per game. They also bring back senior Nick Onjenga. I'm probably butchering that again. 8.7 points per game, 4.3 rebounds. They also bring back center Yor Anai, the 5th-year senior. He transferred in a year ago. Then you bring back Jalen Terry, who was I believe he transferred over from Oregon, 8.2 points per game. Now he's just a junior, but still an upperclassman, still experienced now. And then you bring back guard Philman Gibbowit, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I always butcher these names, folks. Senior, 4.8 points per game, 2.2 boards. So you're bringing back 5 experienced guys as far as longevity. I mean, and I'll say this: I'm not calling for DePaul to go to the Final Four. I don't even know if I'm calling for them to. I'd probably not call for them to make the NCAA tournament. But if you look at the Final Four last year, what was it? North Carolina, experienced team. How'd they get there? Just a ton of experience. They're going to be, and you look at Villanova, experienced. You look at the Houston Cougars, experienced. You look at the Kansas Jayhawks, experienced. So I do still believe experience pays off in college basketball. You could bring in those big time recruits and big time transfers. But I think the right blend is an experienced team with some key transfers, maybe a Brady Manick, North Carolina, Tremont Mark, with Houston or Remy Martin at Kansas. I believe that's the key to doing that. So maybe we might have something going with the DePaul Blue Demons. So, new additions. We got to buckle up for this one here. I was shout out to. I mean, I Stubblefield's doing a great job because I do see some great additions here. Umoja Gibson from the Oklahoma Sooners. That is a fantastic. I was shocked he left Oklahoma. Porter Moser entering year 2. I thought that was like learning curves last year. No, he heads out to DePaul, 13.3 points per game there in the Big 12, the best conference of college basketball of late. That's a great get. Then they go get Caleb Murphy from South Florida in the AAC, and he impressed me at South Florida. I know you look back, 11.4 points per game. I know it's the AAC step down compared to the Big East. I think that's a good get, and I would not be surprised to see both those guys starting for the Blue Demons when we see them season tip on November 7th. They also went out and got Deshaun Nelson from Kilgore, which JUCO. KT Ramey from Southern Idaho. We don't know necessarily. This is a big step up to Big East basketball. How will this translate? Zion Cruz as well, but Earl Penn is one to watch from Long Island. 17.1 points per game there with the Sharks. That's a big get, and that's one that I do expect to start as well. So I mean, the portal. I get it. You got. I thought they won the portal. I'd say better than most schools we've previewed thus far this offseason. Let's talk starting 5. What I project, and this is a little tough, just blindly basing this on the starting 5. A lot of new faces, so I think Gibson and Murphy are going to start. Maybe you can talk me into Terry getting the start, Murphy coming off the bench. Maybe that happens. I would assume blindly, if I had to do the starting 5, it'll be Gibson, Murphy, Johnson at the 3, and Penn at the 4. So all 3 of your transfers in there, and then Anai or Ojenda at this, probably Ojenda at the center spot. So they do have some depth there. Now, how will that starting 5 compare to a lot of teams in the Big East? That I think it's a decent starting 5, considering what you lost. I think it's a decent starting 5 there. I don't know, but we will get to it. We're gonna break down all of that. We're gonna look at the schedule, and the out of conference schedule we'll start with. But before I do that, I want to tell you folks out there that the DePaul Blue Demons college basketball season preview episode is brought to you by Fubo TV. If you watch football or basketball, you need Fubo TV. Fubo TV gives you complete coverage of college and pro basketball and football. They got the NFL Red Zone. They got games in 4K at no extra charge. There's over 100 channels of live sports and entertainment for a fraction of the price of cable. You can watch it on all your devices. Never miss a game or an episode of your favorite shows with the included cloud-based DVR. Plus, there's no contract. There's no commitment. You can cancel at any time. Right now, you can try Fubo TV for free for 7 days and get 15% off your first month. Just go to FuboTV.com/SGP. That's FUBOTV.com/SGP. All right. I think that's a pretty good. I mean, considering you lost your top 3 scorers from a year ago, I kind of like what he did in the portal. You see some of these coaches that are stagnant to change in the portal. Well, they've kind of in football and basketball subscribed to the college football experience as well, people, because you do get a couple of these dinosaur coaches that haven't adapted to college athletics in 2022, and this is perhaps not the case here in DePaul, because I think Stubblefield did a great job going out there and being active and bringing in some names. Let's get to it. Let's get to that out of conference schedule. Once again, the season tips right around the corner, and the Loyola Maryland, what are they? The Greyhounds, I believe. I can't remember. They are coming in to Chicago, Illinois. This game's going to be on FS1 on November 7th. That's a Monday. That should be a win. That should be a win. And then after that, you got this is on FS2. Western Illinois comes to town. I think you should be 2-0. 2-0, and then you have the critical Gavitt games against the Big Ten here. This game's going to be on the Big Ten Network, and this is a road trip to Minneapolis. So, I would say that this one is one that is a must get. This is a must get game, in my opinion, for Tony Stubblefield, because you're capable of winning this game. You could argue that you might even have the better starting five. No, I kind of like what Ben Johnson's doing there in Minneapolis, so I think it's going to be a game. So as a DePaul fan, I'd say you want to circle this one. This is a big game. Get a win against a Big Ten team that could potentially maybe score some upsets against some big schools in the Big Ten. So if I'm projecting this, I think this is a true 50-50 game. Let's say it's a dub, 3-0. Then you got to watch out because you're heading to the Bahamas, and Santa Clara and Herb Sendek actually keep a talented team. They haven't made the NCAA tournament because Gonzaga and St. Mary's and San Francisco have been running that. But I'm telling you, people don't realize the WCC is pretty damn good. I mean, some of those years I'm like, this is better than the Pac-12. So, I think that's a dangerous game, especially because you're not in Chicago. You're in the Bahamas. You could lose that game. And then after that, you get the winner of UCF and Oklahoma State. So you got Friday, November 18th, you got Santa Clara. Then you got the winner or loser of the UCF Oklahoma State game. And at that point, I do think you got to factor in, if I'm playing best case scenario here, you beat Santa Clara, but I think you will lose. You'll lose one of those three to Minnesota, Santa Clara, or UCF or Oklahoma State. Maybe even two. I mean, shit. Maybe you could even say three, but that's why I'm going to say they lose the UCF Oklahoma State game. So that means you start off 4-1, and then you get a big one there in Chicago as Texas A&M and Buzz Williams come into town on Friday, November 25th. This game's on FS1 as well. I think I got to go A&M here. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I think Buzz Williams they showed signs of life last year. They almost made the NCAA tournament. I'm going to go ahead and say 3-2. Is that 3-2? No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-2 after 6. And then you get Samford from the SoCon, and watch out. I'm telling you, SoCon is really underrated as a basketball conference. So watch out for this one. 4-2 after or 5-2. What is that? If I gave you Samford, Santa Clara, Minnesota, Western Illinois, Loyola, 5-2. Tread lightly though. Samford can beat you. Then you got a big one on Saturday, December 3rd. Love to see that they're scheduling this one. They are going to Loyola Chicago to take on the Ramblers. That's an awesome game. I think there'll be a loss there. So at 5-3 there, then you get the Big East early game at St. John's against Mike Anderson. This is a huge game. Highlight this one, I think, as one of the most important games of the year, because you get the early Big East game against a team that I believe you can beat. Now, yes, was Mike Anderson active in the portal to bring in names? Yes, but let's be honest. And I like Mike Anderson. I thought the hire was good, but it hasn't really worked out in Queens with Mike Anderson. And I think it's a make or break year for him. There's a little bit of blood in the water, the way they played last year. I could totally see DePaul knocking them off. But since it's in Queens, I got to favor St. John's. Then they host UTEP who got raided in the portal this past year. So I do think they should be able to beat UTEP on December 10th. And then they're at Duquesne. Duquesne once again kind of gotten destroyed in the portal of late as well. So I think things will be fine there as well. You should be able to beat Duquesne in Pittsburgh. That's games on ESPN Plus. So I mean, then you are at Northwestern in Evanston. Chris Collins, son of Doug Collins, former Duke guard, head coach there. It's kind of I saw he was on the hot seat. I don't know that's 100% accurate, but Pete Nance, they're one of their best players, gone to North Carolina. They lost the other kid to Duke. They're kind of in a rebuilding phase. That's a winnable game. You should be able to win that one. And that would put me at, what's that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins in, 8 wins at a conference. And I think that's something you can realistically say would be a good season, good start to the season. Yes, maybe 7, maybe, I think 7 or 8 is that number that you're seriously looking at. Anything better is absolutely fantastic. Even if you get 8, I think is great. 7, you say, well, pretty good. Anything below that, you're kind of disappointed. But let's talk conference play besides that St. John's game on December 7th. But before I do all that, I got to get us paid one more time. I want to tell you that the college basketball experience is brought to you by OddsTrader. OddsTrader is the place to compare odds from all the major sports books. You can also compare the different sign-up codes and promo codes from sportsbook to sportsbook to assure yourself that you get the best deal possible. The app also provides key player stats, game stats, injury reports, projected game day weather for bettors who make the most informed bets possible. It also has a bet tracker, so bettors can keep records of all your games and betting activity, which I love because you get me going, especially November, December, even January. Some I'm betting on like every sport you can think of. You know what I mean? Especially this year, you add in the World Cup. Yeah. So I got college basketball bets going on, college football, NFL, NBA, NHL. Now you throw in the World Cup, whatever UFC fights are going on, and you just gotta. I will forget sometimes of what I bet on. So it organizes that for you, which I think is fantastic. So folks, please check out OddsTrader. Go to oddstrader.com/bluewire. OddsTrader, the #1 site for all your game day bets. All right, we are back talking Blue Demon basketball, and I'm not going to go game by game within conference because the Big East is a gauntlet. You never know which games are going to come up. You never know the health of the players or where they will be at that time. But what I will do is go through and I'll highlight the 2 biggest sections of where I think the fans should key in and say, okay, this is the most important part of our conference schedule. Can we get a winning record in this 3-game stretch? And by the way, shout out to them playing Creighton on Christmas. It's an awesome game in Omaha. The Big East is so loaded. It's so loaded. Yes, you have opportunity. There's a lot of change. Jay Wright's retired. I think that alone, then you have, I just think there's kind of an opportunity for some teams to rise up. You got a lot of 1st-year coaches, whether it's Sean Miller, whether it's Thad Matta at Butler, Sean Miller at Xavier, Shaheen Holloway at Seton Hall. So it's tougher in your first year, setting everything up, getting players to go by your system. So there's opportunity to climb there. And then you have the hot seat watch of Anderson and Mike Anderson at St. John's, Patrick Ewing at Georgetown. And then you have Shaka Smart, lost some key players at Marquette. So I do think there's gonna be some opportunity. Ed Cooley at Providence kind of reloading as well. I know he did a great job in the portal, but it's going to be fun to watch these games night in, night out. The stretch to me that stands out the most. So what you're looking for, I think if you're a Seton Hall fan, you want to be able to win the home games against the power teams where your wins could really mean something if you find yourself on that bubble. I know you say, hey, Colby, they haven't been on the bubble in a long time, but hey, I mean, college basketball change happens. Sometimes you don't see it. So I think this team is decently talented. So am I calling for them to win the Big East? No, not by any means, but I think they're decently talented. And I think I think there's opportunity if they can win some of these close games. Once again, played in a lot last year that were close. The stretch to me though that stands out. I think you want to be able to get some big wins against teams that you're capable of. I think you're capable of beating almost everybody in this conference, but you got to win the ones at home. On the road, I think it's a tough battle. The hardest thing to do in college sports, whether it's football or basketball, to me, is win on the road. And when I look at that stretch where they get 3 home games in a row, January 10th to January 18th, all in 8 days. They get Villanova, Kyle Neptune, the new head coach there. Jay Wright's retired. If they could pull the upset against the Wildcats, that could be one. I fully expect Neptune to keep that program afloat. I think they're going to be pretty damn good. So if you're able to get that win there at Wintrust Arena on CBS Sports, that would be huge. That would be absolutely huge. The very next game is Seton Hall with Shaheen Holloway. Obviously, magical story, St. Peter's last year. But how fast can you start winning at Seton Hall? Got to be able to win. So the Nova one is a resume builder. Then you have Seton Hall and Xavier, which are teams that I think you'll be competing against that are projected ahead of you. That's the 3-game stretch right there. If I had to pick another one, it would probably be the stretch towards the end of the year. They always say that, winning late in March helps you get into the tournament. If you're losing a lot in November, it kind of give you a little bit of a pass. If you're hot in late February, March, you can get into the big dance. The final 3 games of the season are at Marquette on FS1 on February 25th, critical game, and one that I do think you're capable of winning. Then you're at UConn in Storrs, Connecticut. That one you're probably going to lose, but if you could somehow find a way to, I mean, UConn's projected among the top 3 in the Big East, and then you're home to Creighton, the home game against Creighton. Creighton, you potentially looking at like a top 10 roster. We'll see if it can transition to the court that well, but what a gigantic win. If you just go 2-1 in that stretch, I think that could be a big, especially if you were to find a way to get the UConn game. Oh man, you could really set yourself up. But we are a gambling podcast. I'm going to try to project. I don't think this is a tournament team. Could I see a path for them to find themselves? Sure. Learn how to win these close games, which you lost a lot last year. And if I had to go with my pecking order of the Big East, I think you got to put Creighton at 1 right now as far as talent, but I have Nova at 2 because I think Neptune's a damn good coach. We only saw him 1 year at Fordham, but I think he knows the system, handpicked by Jay Wright. I think he's going to fit in fine. Those 2 still to me remain at the top 2. Then you have the question about UConn. Obviously the people say this is UConn's most talented team in the Hurley era. Well, I happen to think Butler is going to surprise. I think Thad Matta's got a pretty good roster. I got them in that mix there with UConn. I also think Xavier will be in that mix because Sean Miller walks into a pretty veteran team, and I thought he did a great job in the portal. After that is where I think if you are a DePaul basketball fan, you're hoping you can get on the upper part of this, because after that I would probably go Providence. Then I would probably go Seton Hall. Then I would probably go Georgetown or St. John's, followed by Marquette and DePaul. If I was to write these down, but do I think I don't think there's a big gap between DePaul and even right after Providence. Providence I give a slight talent level gap to, but I can see DePaul in the same range as St. John's. That's why that game's so critical on what is that, December 4th? I can't wait for the season start. I can't wait. What would be a great year? Obviously making the NCAA tournament would be a great year for Tony Stubblefield, but what would be a good year if he didn't make the NCAA tournament? NIT. I think if you can get to the NIT and show signs of life with this programming and build on that, I think you can talk yourself into, hey, year 3 of Stubblefield, we can make the NCAA tournament. we'll see. I cannot wait, folks. When the season does tip on November 7th, we've been handicapping every single game for the past I think over 5 years now. Never had a losing season. Me, Patty C, NC Nick, but also you'll hear me every single night of the college basketball season, picking out the best games. So you'll hear me for each night talking about tomorrow's games. And I will go through the lines, what games we like as far as from a betting point of view, but also I'm a college basketball junkie. I've been a fan long before I ever betted. So we'll be talking about just the best matchups, what to watch, what to look for. And we cover it all, every college basketball game. So check us out, subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. Also remember to subscribe to the College Football Experience. Come on, DePaul, let's get the football team going. Start the football program. Come on. Subscribe on YouTube. We come together. Both those come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. And check out all of our other platforms. Get the SGPN app for free and you'll get access to all of that. You can get that in the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. But the Sports Gambling Podcast, the thing that started it all for us. NFL Gambling Podcast. Bears fans, I know it's a tough season, but maybe you're a fan of another team. Check out the NFL Gambling Podcast. Check out the like I said, World Cup's right around the corner here. Soccer Gambling Podcast, NBA Gambling Podcast, NHL just started. Shout out to, I know Chicago likes some NHL as well. So check out the NHL Gambling Podcast. And all the MLB. The baseball season continues to roll on. So check out all that good stuff. Hop in the Discord channel, talk college hoops with us, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. I think you'll dig it. Talk a little DePaul hoops with us night in, night out, or whatever sport, even if it's a monster truck madness. I'm sure you could find someone talking about it. So do all that. And appreciate you tuning in. And I cannot wait to talk more Blue Demon basketball. This is the College Basketball Experience, DePaul Blue Demon style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Thank you. Well, this is a great way to get started. And I haven't even won all my games yet. It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family.
What the fuck did I do wrong, Tom?
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
You're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're gonna pay for it. Good night.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
Spinal.
When we were winning conference titles and going to the Final Four, we were making a statement.